Having an OP big man on your team is a must if you want to make a run for an NBA championship. Traditionally, the big men have always stayed in the paint on offense and defense, but that's not always the case anymore. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how centers such as Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen are actually advancing the process of reinventing the big man position. Let's get right into it. Starting off, what's so special about Mobley and Allen? It's not rare to see a Twin Towers frontcourt fail miserably, but when it works out, it's beyond entertaining to witness. While most of the league opts for a small ball lineup, the Cavs are one of the few teams opting to go big, and so far it's going pretty well. But why are Evan and Jarrett able to mesh well, while Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns can't? Well, that's because of their thin, athletic frames, which allow them to be incredibly quick. When the Cavs drafted Mobley in the 2021 draft, they just knew that he'd be the perfect fit next to Allen, because the two are pretty similar in terms of their build and their ability to play insanely impressive defense. Though the best part's that they can defend basically any position, and that's really rare for most big men. Whether it's in the paint or out on the perimeter, both players look super comfortable and easily lock up forwards and guards. That's huge because it means they're protecting the rim while also stopping middies and threes, since they can switch onto anyone on the court. As Allen said, the game's slowly changing, with teams wanting a big who can guard 1 through 5 like us. That's why they're both so valuable to the Cavs. In fact, the first year that Allen and Evan played together, Cleveland's defense skyrocketed from 25th to 5th, and they currently have the second best defensive rating in the 2023 season. Next up, let's look at some plays which show off how insane their defense is. One play that particularly displays how unfair it is to have them on the same team came on the 19th of October 2022. The Cavs were facing off against the Raptors, and about halfway into the first quarter, we were treated to an amazing defensive play from the duo. Pascal Siakam drove to the rim, but Jarrett slid over to the restricted area to contest his shot. Spicy P had no choice but to pass it up, and he did just that as he dished the ball to a waiting Scotty Barnes. It seemed as if Scotty was about to get an easy 2 points, but Evan played some terrific help defense, resulting in a blocked shot. Next, let's talk about Mobley's phenomenal performance against the Pistons on the 4th of November. Not only did he somehow block 8 shots, but each rejection was a thing of beauty. Our favorite one came with about 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining in the first quarter. After a series of passes, Killian Hayes passed the ball to Nerlens Noel, and Noel had an easy look at a floater. But unfortunately for Nerlens, Evan had other plans, as he swatted that shot attempt the second it left Noel's hands. And of course, we can't forget about Jarrett's fantastic defense against the Pistons either. Roughly a minute after that Mobley block, Hamidou Diallo tried to dunk the ball, but he didn't realize Allen was close by, so the center immediately moved to his left and met Hamidou at the rim. Following that, can the Cavs win a championship with both of them leading on the front court? JB Bickerstaff, the Cavaliers coach, believes so. He began by saying that even though everyone's focusing more on shots from downtown, he thinks it's far more important to win the paint on both ends of the floor. Bickerstaff then added that if you have quick, tall dudes like Allen and Evan on the floor, it's much easier to do that. What's more, JB's a firm believer in size and skill beating small in skill. Plus, Coach Bickerstaff pointed to the past few postseasons as proof that size in the front court's integral if you want to win at all, or at least make it far. The Lakers won the championship in 2020, due in large part to their size advantage over the Heat. LA had Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, while Miami just had Bam. Then in 2021, the Bucks had Giannis and Brook Lopez leading their front court, which also rewarded them with a ring. And in the 2022 playoffs, the Celtics almost won their first championship in 14 years, thanks to the contributions from their front court duo of Al Horford and Robert Williams III. Plus, this Cavs team has a ridiculously talented backcourt as well, with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland putting up masterpieces on a nightly basis. The Cavs are one of the most complete teams in the league, and since most of the athletes on their squad are still pretty young, we definitely see Cleveland winning another title at some point in the future. Now let's talk more about the big man position. Starting off, allow us to explain who exactly a big man is. As you might have guessed, the phrase refers to the biggest or tallest players on the basketball team. Teams expect bigs to either play as a center or power forward, and they're especially important when it comes to playing defense as well as grabbing rebounds on both ends of the floor. Traditionally, bigs are usually 6'9" or taller and weigh at least 200 pounds. They need to have a height and weight advantage because that's the only way they can impose their will on the smaller guys on the court. Usually, centers and power forwards remain in the paint, lying in wait for shots to block or for a pass that can result in an easy dunk or layup. But as we told you earlier, some big men aren't sticking to this formula anymore. Coming up, what makes a player a good big? The answer to this question question varies depending on which time period you're talking about. If we're talking about the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, then the best big men were the ones who were super tall, strong, and straight-up bullies in the paint. Think of guys like Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, and Hakeem Olajuwon, to name a few. But as time's gone on, things have changed in that now teams expect centers and power forwards to be able to stretch the floor and cash in on threes, rather than just stay in the paint all game long. Prime Kevin Love, Dirk Nowitzki, and Joel Embiid are the best examples of this type of big man. It's also worth mentioning that nowadays, lots of teams prefer to go for small ball lineups, so that means having faster 6'7" or 8" players playing the 4 and 5 spots. This also means that the slower and bigger dudes become unplayable when you have a small ball lineup like the Warriors doing some crazy stuff on the offense. Up next, let's look at the biggest players in the NBA right now. First up, we have Jacob Pettl and Rudy Gobert at number 3. Jacob and Gobert are tied in 3rd place as they're both 7'1". Pettl's currently posting a near double-double for the Spurs as he's scoring 12.9 points per game, along with 9.9 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1 block. As for Rudy, we all know him as being one of the best shot-blocking and rebounding bigs in the association. He averages 12.5 points, 11.7 boards, and 2.2 blocks for his career, which is pretty impressive. But he's even led the league in blocks and rebounds.
He can really elevate.
Towns to Gobert.
Following that, we have a 3-way tie at number 2. Bol, Moses Brown, and Luke Cornett are all 7'2", but only one of these dudes is thriving in the league right now, and that's Bol. He's currently one of the best players on the Magic, as he's averaging 13.1 points and 7.8 rebounds per game, along with 1.9 blocks. Cornett and Brown haven't had as much success as Bol, as neither of them is getting much playing time this season, so that's why Luke's only putting up 4.7 points and 3.8 rebounds per game, while Moses' numbers are even worse at 3.8 and 2.1. Hopefully, the two of them can find a team who will make the most of them, because it sucks seeing talented bigs like them not being used. Finally, we have Boban Marjanovic and Kristaps Porzingis at number 1. Boban and Porzingis enter this list as the tallest active players in the NBA, as they both stand at 7'3". Even though Marjanovic is huge, he hasn't really been able to make the most of it, as he only averages 5.8 points and 3.8 rebounds for his career. The Zinger, on the other hand, has been pretty good for most of his time in the NBA. 358 games into his career, he's putting up 19.1 points per game, along with 7.9 boards, and blocking nearly 2 shots per game. Plus, after a few off seasons, Kristaps has finally managed to revive his career with the Wizards. That's a wrap for this video. Are you guys impressed with how spectacular Evan and Allen's defense has been so far? Let us know in the comments below. As always, remember to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.